Welcome to A Line Through Time, where I take the time to look through your favourite franchises and work out how it all lines up. But for this episode, we're going to be doing something slightly different. Every third episode or so, I'll be discussing ideas related to timelines rather than actually constructing a timeline. This way, I can keep myself from running out of ideas too soon. I mean, I can have some much needed variety so you guys won't get bored and unsubscribe. Yeah, it's purely for my own reasons. Since I like a proper segue to get us out of this non-comedy, I'll just go ahead and tell you that today's topic is how to construct a timeline. This is specifically for instances where the order is unclear and our goal is to piece the timeline together, as opposed to explaining a clear but complicated timeline or exploring a certain aspect of one. This topic is applicable to the development of both the Sonic and Street Fighter episodes, so if you've not seen those two, I recommend doing so now because seeing what I did in those will help give context to the examples I give here. Step 1. The backbone. The first step for constructing a timeline is to compile the primary story where applicable. These are the stories with the most continuity between them. For something like Zelda, it's not really possible since that series jumps around the timeline all the time. For Sonic, this is the main series, numbered entries and main 3D platformers. For Street Fighter, it's just the Street Fighter series itself without any of the shared universe stuff. The reason you start out with this is to establish the core storyline which will affect the status quo the most. The status quo of the series is typically affected by new characters being introduced, characters being killed off, or having some significant change happen with them such as an alignment change or a significant injury. And we can then use those details to help place some of the less continuity driven entries. With that, you now have the basic frame to build your timeline on, a time frame if you will. Oh wait, no, that's a different thing. Step 2. Secondary arcs. Next, we organise what remains into smaller timelines where possible. In the previous episodes, these were the Sonic Advance / Battle and Eggman Nega storylines, and the other series in the Street Fighter universe. This will help us to place groups of stories by ruling out times when these couldn't occur. For example, Cream the Rabbit debuted in Sonic Advance 2 and then appeared in the main series in Sonic Heroes. Her debut and the previous Advance game, therefore, have to take place before then, ruling out post-Heroes as their time frame. Step 3. Finetooth comb. The next step is to go over the less continuity driven entries for details that help establish their placement. You may need to rely on conjecture here or draw on smaller details such as the number of Chaos Emeralds or whether or not certain central characters appear. This is how I worked out the order of events that occurred in the classic era of Sonic or the stories of Guy and Cody to place the Final Fight series. Step 4. Dates and timeframes. Not all series give specific dates for major events, probably most don't, so when presenting a timeline for such a series, conveying the passage of time can be difficult. In situations such as this, it's best to follow the Star Wars method. In the old expanded universe, the New Republic uses a dating system centered around the destruction of the first Death Star in the Battle of Yavin 4. This BBY-ABY system was used across all media, and I think it's still in use in the current canon, though I can't say for sure. Good events to choose as the centre of a timeline are the events of the first installment, like Star Wars, or the birth of the main character, like Sonic or Jesus. Step 5. Branching timelines. Sometimes a series won't have a single unified canon for all of its media. They may have non-canonical alternate endings or an entirely non-canonical entry. I sometimes include those on my DeviantArt timelines and I'll be discussing some of them in the future, as well as an episode on a particular aspect of the non-canon installment. However, I'll be largely leaving them out of videos unless I deem their inclusion necessary. This is mainly for the convenience of conveying the timeline as well as streamlining the video, because if there's one thing to take away from the 2 previous episodes, it's that I cannot trim down my content to save my life. I guess having a Metal Gear themed username is pretty appropriate. And that's about it. Once you've placed everything in order and worked out the passage of time, you're pretty much done. There's not a whole lot to it, but I figured I'd document my own personal methodology for posterity's sake. It's nice to do something short and simple for a change, especially before diving into the next episode, which I did have a cool tease for, but as tends to be the case around here, that didn't work out, plans changed, and I don't have anything like that now, so bye.